I'm John Altschuler.
I'm Scott Bennett. We've known each other for almost 50 years.
We grew up together on the playground.
And now we're in the foreground and still growing up.
From the playground to the foreground.
Join the conversation. Well, back on the playground, episode 15. John, what's going on?
Happy to be here.
Me too. It is a nice day. I think we've turned the corner on the weather. I hope. Been a cold weekend.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, John, I was in New York last week and we hadn't talked.
Did you stay at the Marriott Marquis?
No, I did not. But I did.
You're in Times Square.
I was in Times Square.
Of course.
I saw The Outsiders.
Why were you in Times Square?
Saw The Outsiders.
That didn't excuse staying there.
No, I didn't stay there.
Okay.
I stayed with my friend. We'll talk about that later. All right. So I stayed with my good friend from college.
So The Outsiders, the movie or the play?
They have a musical. It is an adaptation of the movie we loved. I think hopefully you saw that movie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's
everyone was in it from our.
Yeah. And yeah, every child actor. I mean, I was going through the list and it was neat week because it was spring break. So there was
who's the author?
S.E. Hinton.
How does the book start?
Well, it starts with Johnny.
How does it start? How does it end?
Well, Stay Gold. Is how it is.
It starts and ends the exact same way. The exact same words. So what you realize as the reader, by the end of the book, when she finishes it, you realize that you've just read her essay that she turned in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen the movie, but I've been listening to the musical. In fact, I was listening to it on the way in. They did such an excellent job. I highly recommend it. And because I know you go, bring the whole, the kids, the generations still love it. It's still excellent. I mean, just really, really good. But what have you been up to?
Campaigning.
Yeah.
And
all right.
I went to Austria for skiing.
Yeah, you did do that since we saw each other. How was that? You were dressed right?
That's right. It's great.
No wardrobe issues on the ski trip?
Zero.
All right, good.
Professional.
Good. And they took you seriously there.
They do.
How was the skiing?
Treacherous.
No, you have pants, but no braces.
No braces.
No braces today. All right. Well, we're doing good there.
I was scheduled to ski 3 days and I skied successfully 2 days. And I told my guide, let's just go hiking the third day.
Yeah, you had enough. It's a lot. Well, I'm glad you're back in one piece.
Thank you.
Campaign needs you to be. And
that's right.
We're deep in it. I know we're less than a month away. We'll talk about that with our guests. I'm excited about that. But before we do that, a little show and tell, John. Thought about it today. Could have brought I did have my playbill from the musical, but we've covered that. Today happens to be a special day, as they all are for me. But today is 711 days post heart transplant. So I brought in this 7-11 bag.
Nice.
Because I thought, why not? I was thinking about this morning. I count every day. You know that.
Yeah.
And I think you have one of these. I think you got one. You saw me speak, right?
It's in my car.
But I brought this for my guests and our guests, not mine, ours. But thought I would just bring it out because I don't think we've talked about it. And people ask me a lot. So I wanted to show this today to you. And I know you know what it is, but for our audience that doesn't know, this is a tally counter. And I've been doing a lot of public speaking and intend to do a lot more of it. And I give these out to everybody that sees me speak so that they can, you use this to track the number of people maybe at an event or something else. But you can count every single day by using this. So I give them away. And just know, I don't ever ask you what you thought about this. Do you use it? Do you have yours still?
I liked it. I used it for a while, but it's in my vehicle. And I know where it is.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing, is just to remind you. So I'm going to give this to our guests. I think from now I'm going to give this to our guests.
Nice.
Yeah. I think it's a touch that we should do, right? So there's that. So 7-11, almost at 2 years, a lot of doctor's appointments this week. But I also brought, John, we talked yesterday, so I wanted to bring in and show you this because I've brought this specifically. My game has been struggling. We talk about your index. This is my new putter. Haven't even used it. It's not brand new, because I bought it used. Not from our guys at Golf Roots.
No.
I tried.
Really?
I tried. No, I did. Shout out to our boys at Golf Roots. They didn't have what I was looking for. This is a 2024, so it's like a car. I bought a year-old mint condition. Scotty Cameron Phantom X5.
Nice.
And the reason I got it, John, is because I'm working on my game. I looked at your index last posted. What was it?
Well, it's currently 14.7. You probably saw 14.1.
Yeah.
I had a bad weekend.
You still got me. Yeah. I'm at 14.8, John.
Okay.
And I think I told you when you took up golf, it wasn't going to be long before you were better than me. I'm trending in the wrong direction. So this is my weapon to come back at you.
All it takes is a putter.
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to cut 4 or 5 shots off my game. My putting.
No way.
So this is a proclamation to you and to our faithful audience that I'm going to spend my summers on the golf course. I'm really going to work on my putting. I think I can, really reduce at least 2 to.
You just said 4 or 5.
I know, at least 2 to 5. But if I get 2, I think I'm going to stay neck and neck. So that's my plan. I just wanted you to know this is why I bought it with you in mind. So
just real quick, how many times are you putting per round right now?
How am I counting? Well, that's the thing is I haven't been counting my number of putts, but I've been focused on my 3 putts. It's not good. Okay. It really dawned on me when I went to that very hard course near Houston. Treacherous weather conditions. Just putting is just it's the shortest distance between you and the hole. Has the biggest impact on your score. And I actually got that. Besides you, I saw a really good story about 21 of the top 25 players in the world right now are playing a mallet putter, and I was more of a traditional blade. So that's more of a mallet. So it's kind of a hybrid mallet blade, but much more of a mallet. So I'm hoping I'm going to be one of the top 26 in the world.
Good luck.
You didn't bring anything today, did you?
No.
Well, you're excited. I think you're probably just excited about our guest, aren't you?
I have one question I really want to ask her.
And well, I can't wait. Usually there's 1 or 2. I hope you have more, but I'm looking forward to our guest. I think it's the next few minutes are going to be really fun because somebody that's known us. Curious what she thinks about us now. I've seen her more than you.
I bet she doesn't think about us at all.
I think people try to stop thinking about us. This podcast isn't helping in all the publicity, but I'm excited about our guest, and it's going to be a fun visit, and looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Would you like to be our guest?
Or is there someone you would like to see on the show?
DM us through social at Playground Foreground.
We look forward to hearing from you.
Okay. Excited about our guest. John, it's our good friend from a long time ago, Megan Timme. How about that on the Playground?
Welcome.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
Hey. Well, Megan, first of all, so excited you're here. I think this is going to be a fun visit with you. I have seen you more recently. Just to give our audience, and we're going to let you tell our audience who you are, but it's pretty neat to know somebody a long time and then raise children and then see your children become friends. And Megan and I have had the experience. My oldest daughter, Sydney, and Megan's son, Drew, who we'll get to, are old pals from J.J. Pierce and Park Hill. And just, have had the opportunity to raise our kids in the same community. Megan is doing some great stuff. We'll let her talk about it, but it's fun to have that experience, John. I think you probably run into some people, but to know somebody in your youth and then to, raise your own children and see them become people is pretty cool. And I had a great experience last week, which I know we'll get to. But anyway, Megan, for the audience that doesn't know you, tell us a little about you.
Yeah, I am, Megan Timme, as you said. I live in the Richardson ISD area, actually Dallas, but Richardson ISD. I'm an educator. I was a teacher for a long time, principal. And then now I work in the space of training, superintendent, central office, and principals as well. And so love the education realm. And then I'm also on the Richardson ISD school board, and I am in my 2nd term. So the 4th year, but it's my 2nd term. My most important job, though, is wife to my husband, Matt, and then I have 3 kids. I have Drew, and then I have Walker is my middle, who's also playing basketball, as Drew is, and then my youngest, who's a senior in high school, Kendall. So I chase them around, go to all sorts of gyms and all sorts of places, and they all look the same, essentially, smell the same, all that good stuff. So,
well, I like to think about, I think we all met, and correct me if I'm wrong, at Westwood.
Yep.
Right? First time you saw us.
It is.
So before we get into talking about your work, I think it's fun when we have somebody that's known us a lot of years. Like, is it interesting to see us? I don't know when the last time you saw John was.
I think I saw your parents since I've seen you, actually.
Yeah.
On that meandering trail, or where?
I think it was at, it was one of the restaurants that's up there on, right by my house. So.
That's cool.
Yeah. They're so sweet.
Any memories of John or I? I mean, our audience loves that, I'm sure.
I do. So I'm going to tell you, so I'm a year younger than you guys. I graduated high school in 91. So when I was in junior high, I was in 8th grade. You guys were in 9th. And I remember John being kind of the silent jock who would, walk around, and he was taller than everybody. And and so good at sports, and all the girls thought he was so cute. And then Scott's traveling around with a pack of people, chatting it up, like making fun in every hall and every time you passed him, and always had a little harem around him. And so that's how I remember you guys. And I was just a little bitty 8th grader looking up to the big 9th graders on campus.
I don't think we've made a lot of progress, John. I think that's what this means. And Megan, I remember, but I know that then you went to Richardson.
I did.
And wore Mustangs.
Mm-hmm.
Still a heated rivalry all these years later. But our kids went to Pierce.
Yeah.
So you were sort of torn there. And John's parents live in the Pierce area still. You mentioned all the work that you're doing in education. Yeah. It seemed fitting to have you on. We know John is embarking on, hopefully, I'm manifesting out that he will potentially be serving as a school board member. And I thought it was something I mentioned to you when you ran, that it was something I was going to do. So it's interesting that hopefully the two of you will have that in common. But just curious, like, what made you fall in love with education? I mean, from our upbringing, I mean, we're talking about it a lot on this podcast. We all have kids, but just curious.
So both of my parents were educators. My mom was, I think when y'all were there, she was a librarian at Westwood. And then my dad was, when I was in high school, was my principal at my high school, but also was an assistant superintendent, all of those things. And for a long time, I didn't think I was going to do it. I kind of fought it, but there's nothing better than connecting with kids, to be influential, to grow up to be great humans, and having the opportunity to educate them. It's just, to me, it's just a calling, right? Like I loved it. Being a classroom teacher probably was my favorite job I've ever had. And so that's what I got into. I was on the elementary side when I taught, and then was principal. And it just, some of the most impactful work that I've done was in that classroom. And I think for me, I don't think I realized at the time, but having your work have impact just as doing your work was much more important to me than probably anything else.
Richardson has really high teacher pay.
We do. That's a new piece.
Why?
To me, when I first was on the board, over time, there was some compression. So our veteran teachers weren't being paid probably as well as, in my opinion, I thought they should have been. And to me, one of the biggest impacts that you'll have is whoever you can anybody can teach a curriculum from a perspective of implement what you're given material wise, but how you connect with those kids and how you give them an experience is how they really learn. And so to me, having the best teachers and having the most robust pool that you can pull from to have the most impact in that classroom, to me, is one of the most important things we can do, especially as a school board.
I'd say the most important thing I'm running on is moving Highland Park Independent School District to top teacher pay. Like, here's this chart, and like, we're 12th place. Yeah. You guys are killing us.
Well, that's relatively new. We did that. That was 2 years ago, I think, was when we changed that.
Big.
It's a big deal. If you want the best, you have to have a pool to pull from the best.
So that's what I said. So for those of us that aren't looking at charts or on in the school board, and certainly our audience, give me a sense, since you talked about number 12, what is the top teacher pay in the state? What is the average pay?
Well, the top teacher pay right now in RISD appears to be $76,000 last year.
Mm-hmm. So, that's a problem.
And what I'm saying is, what I'm challenging our board to do and our community to do is to leverage our foundation, which has $60 million sitting in it. Let's go ahead and pull $4 million out, move our pay scale up $10,000 per teacher next year. I think it makes a big difference. All I know is all it's ever mattered in my education, my kids' education, who was teaching us.
Right. When you think about, like, this is what I always tell when we were initially talking about as a board, and when I was talking to the community, is like, I don't remember what test I took. I don't remember lots of things, but I always remember the teachers that I had, right? That was my experience. I knew who was a good teacher. I knew there were ones that I liked. There were ones that I still would talk to today. And they all had an impact because the people, not the papers.
Yeah. I think we've talked about it a lot on a lot of our episodes, certainly when somebody's come in that's known us. And I think we always like to ask, who was your favorite teacher? I mean, even if it wasn't at Westwood, like right now, as I'm asking you, who resonates? I
had two favorite teachers, I would say, that like really stick out. There are lots of them. I had lots of great teachers, but when I was in 6th grade, we had a teacher. His name was Mr. Shoemaker. He was at Bowie Elementary.
Wait, were you at Bowie with us?
Were y'all at Bowie?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Yes, I was.
Yeah. See,
I didn't even know that. That's so funny.
You don't remember? Yeah.
Were you supposed to go to RHS, or did you transfer?
I transferred. Remember, that's when Westwood split. Sorry, that's when class would split, so I had to make a choice.
Whoa, John. Yes.
Wow.
There were a lot. We had people like you. I don't really.
Yeah.
They wouldn't. You're an outlier because we probably wouldn't let them be on this podcast.
Anomaly. I actually went to Pierce for 2 days because that was the year that Richardson started 2 days later because they had the asbestos removal. So my dad would not approve my transfer because remember he was my principal. And then I was being so hateful. My mom was like, we're either moving into Richardson so she can go or you're going to approve her transfer or that's it. Like I can't deal with her. And so I ended up then going to Richardson.
And for our audience that doesn't know, and for my wife who asks all the time why the junior high people are so important, I think you're a great example because we did have a lot of people. It was an interesting social experiment.
Yes.
Wouldn't you agree?
Agreed.
So we went to junior high together, 7, 8, 9, right? But at that most formidable time, our bodies are changing, right? Things are happening. We make these friends, which is probably why you didn't know us in sixth grade. You we're talking to the opposite sex, 5th, 6th grade. You're really focused on, but kind of 6, 7, at least I remember, was when you recognized that okay, maybe there's a lot more interaction, and then you make these deep friendships, 7, 8, 9, and then the district says, hey. Based on, now we're going to split you back up again.
Yep.
That was pretty tough.
Yeah.
I talked to a lot of our friends from junior high, especially post heart transplant. I've heard from a lot. So don't you think that's a crazy thing?
It was crazy. And every year was different. Like some more would go to Pierce, some year more would go. So it was, I know we all hung out a lot, but it's a little bit different. But I would say in elementary, I was so busy being in the line I had to be in, right? You couldn't really mix grade levels. But in junior high and high school, you get that opportunity. So you're right. You make all these friends and then they go to different schools. Great on one hand, because you have friends in all places, but you just don't get to hang out with them the same way you did if you were in school every day. So
I'm surprised you're not bringing up, John, the idea we had in an earlier episode. We talked about the change of the mascot. So did that happen while you were on the board? Was that before? Or I couldn't remember. It was
right before. I think I was campaigning. It was right before I got on the board.
Strong feelings one way or the other?
Not for me really. Like, my mascot was my mascot. If they want to move it to a different one and that's where they were, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't change my experience. There's still great kids who go there and families. And so the mascot to me is not in particularly a big deal.
I drove by it yesterday. So I'm pretty proud of that place.
Yeah, I loved it.
That library seemed so big when we were little, didn't it?
Massive.
Compared to what we had.
Yes.
Well, you talked about your own children as a mom, and I know we're going to focus on the school board in a minute because I have a question for you. But just curious, as a mom, like, what do you think parents can do to enhance their kids' educational experience?
I think supporting your kids is great, and I think you can look at that at different ways. I think your educators, right? They're in there because they want to be influential, with the kids, and they're wanting your kids to get to a great place, just like you are. And there are going to be times when your kids are going to like their teachers, and there are going to be times when they don't. There are going to be times that you agree with the teacher decision or principal decision, and times that they're not. And what I would say is, there's kind of been at times there's a little bit of a friction within that. And I would say to the extent that it makes sense, every situation is different, but really understanding that those teachers want what's best for your kid. And if it's not going to hurt them, there's not one way to do something. And the more you can back the teachers and the principals when it makes sense for your kids and show your kids that we're all pulling in the same direction for your success, sometimes that's, there are always consequences, good or bad, right? Good behavior, good consequences, bad behavior, bad consequences, but that you're all pulling in the right direction for them. Just knowing that parents are there to be part of the productive process, I think is incredibly helpful. And it changes how a classroom's run, and it changes how students act. And I think that's incredibly helpful if I were thinking that through.
So when my kids were in elementary school and we'd have that opening start of year parent teacher conference, I'd always tell the teachers, look, there's ever a disagreement between what you're saying and what our kids are saying. And we'll tell our kids this too. The jump ball is going to the teacher.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're not here to cause trouble.
Right.
Yeah. I felt like, Lee was the PTA president.
Yes.
I started at Brentfield, a Dad's on Campus program I'm very proud of. I think it sets a tone for the kids, but the teachers win all the time. I think the teachers needed to feel that we were doing that. And I don't think they played favoritism towards us as parents, but I think they knew we were there, and it really helped our kids understand how important we valued school. So,
where's your daughter playing college volleyball?
DePaul in Chicago.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where's the number 2 son playing basketball?
Walker. Well, he is about to make a decision. We're about to take an official visit to Northern Arizona.
Cool.
So wouldn't be sad to visit Flagstaff.
That'd be nice.
So we'll see. I don't know if that's where we'll end up.
I have a question about Drew.
Yeah.
What do you think is the gutsiest play of his career?
Gutsiest play. I think when they played UCLA to go to the championship game, and he stepped in and took a charge.
This is what I was going to say. Because he had 4 fouls.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember being on my sofa, just like coming out of my chair, just like, that was big time.
Okay. Well, and I was over there, no. Oh, yes.
It was
Like
so
it was
great.
like the worst play.
Yeah.
Then it turned into the best play in my mind, like all within like a half second.
I've only seen him play 5 or 10 times probably, but I just remember that play that was so gutsy.
Yeah.
Like everything was on the line. If he goes out, like we're done. Maybe not done, but like he was.
It was going to give
incredible.
them. It was going to give them the ball to win, right? Like they would have had free throws if it had been a block. And the charge,
and he would have been out of the game.
That's right, and it would have given us, and it gave us the opportunity to overtime and then to win.
Has it dawned on you? I mean, I got to see you last week, which was really neat. I'm getting actually chills talking about it because I know for you and Matt, parents, we want our kids to achieve whatever it is that they dream about, and I think it's very rare to think, I'm going to be a professional at the highest level in the best league, in the best, at the top of your sport. But has it really hit you, sunk in yet, that your son is an NBA full-time NBA pro?
No, because I see him out there, and he's out there like with AD, and like he was out there on the court with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, and I'm over here thinking of like toddler Drew out there with these grown men, right? And then the whistle goes off, and he's in hand-to-hand combat, like fully holding his own as far as like
he blocked Anthony Davis.
He did.
And he had a masterful dunk in the game. But like John, I watched him play a lot more over the years. And I particularly enjoy, while I see that, I even paid attention that he was doing a little bit of it while on the bench and talking to his teammates. I watched the game behind the game. He was noted for his sort of, he has his own style, but I think he keeps the game light for like the other 9 guys on the floor. Like they know, like if they get near him, the stuff that and this goes back to when, 8th grade, I remember him doing it, and just, he's not changed that about himself. And it doesn't seem like he's changed that at all.
No.
So,
but like what's changed, like one thing that's like impressive about him particularly is that he goes from being like the very best in college basketball.
No question.
So like, hey man, you're in the G League.
Right.
Yeah.
And like a lot of my friends who are basketball guys are saying, hey, he ain't big enough. He's not fast enough. He can't do it.
It's not athletic
and
enough.
he just persisted.
Yep.
I mean, kudos.
I was strongly in the distance. I can say this to his mom. And I know my daughter, Sydney, we would talk about it a lot. I'm like, why isn't he just going to Spain? Like I then told Megan the other day that what a model of perseverance. He got injured. Yeah. And I happened to see him. I watched all 4 of his games in the summer league, which is unwatchable.
But why? Is everyone trying to show up for themselves?
Yeah, because the guys that are drafted know they have a spot. But the team that Drew was on in Milwaukee had it was fully like over 20 guys because they don't have a roster limit. So there's guys there that aren't going to get any run time, but Drew did, and he really shined. The 2 middle games of that 4-game Vegas experience, I was just out of the hospital, but I was like, this is amazing. Just because even on that level, right, to see him, it was all the other stuff he did during those games. It's everything he's always done well. And I think he's a complete basketball player, and he's kind of a throwback for me. Besides knowing him, I just love the way he plays the game with so much joy.
Yeah.
That really is what matters most. He's going to be able to make a living, and I think NIL hit at the right time for him. So he's maximized everything that's been there before him.
I got introduced to a TCU basketball coach like 4 years ago, and he's a graduate assistant. Someone wanted me to talk to him about finance. I'm like, sure. And I go look him up, and I see that he played on that UCLA team.
Oh, really?
And I told him I was a Pierce fan and a Timme guy, and I said, hey, I'm glad to talk to you, but we're going to agree. It was a charge.
Yeah.
And he said, no, it was a block. This is funny.
Well, I want to ask you something, and I knew when you were coming on, we've talked about your kids a little, about school board and what you think about. What would you tell John? I'm proud of him for doing this. I know 4 kids. He doesn't have anything to prove from a business standpoint. The fact that he wants to give back in the community, he still sponsors the gym in RISD, been a big supporter of RISD, but now he wants to do it there. But what would you give him advice or just anything that you might tell him, like from your perspective?
Yeah, I think, I think running a campaign and serving are totally different pieces. And I think they have to be, but I think, I've seen a lot of your campaign stuff and I've looked at your priorities. And I would say that it's very clear to me that you're in it because you want to make the profession better and you want to make things better in Highland Park. Not that there's not a great base, there's great. And like, you want to build upon that. And I think that's fantastic. I think the hardest part for me was, you're one of 7 on there, right? And like nobody's in charge of anybody else. And so instead of, if I have a great idea, I want to put it out there and I am telling people to execute in my daily work, but on a board, I'm having to influence people to hopefully gain their vote for all of that. And then also try not to let other distractions come in, right? So I can keep the main thing. So I think, I think you have really great priorities. I love the teacher pay one. I think it's probably one of the single most important things we can do to make sure that our classrooms stay great. And I think that I love the way that you learn. And I think continuing to learn and to really engross yourself in all the data points of that, because everybody can have their own opinion, but they can't have their own facts. And so I think bringing that to the table to those issues, I think will be invaluable to everybody else. Folks like to vote or to talk about, and I'm not speaking about your board, I'm speaking in general and not speaking about mine either. They like to come from emotion. But facts and it's about kids, right? Like if you can't get emotional about kids, what can you get emotional about? But facts can trump opinion. Right.
One of the things that's to that point, so teacher pay requires board vote coordination with the foundation. Now that's complicated.
Yeah.
One thing that requires no board vote is recognizing that Austin Westlake, which is a high school in Austin, very comparable to Highland Park High School, is scoring 30 percentage points higher, getting admitted to Texas than we are. And that's just my wife just doing diligence and figuring stuff out. And so we tell people that, and they're like, well, it's in Austin. Okay. They're 15 percentage points better at Texas A&M. So they're doing something better that we must go study.
Absolutely.
And incorporate into our district. And that's something that just having the authority of being a board trustee, I don't need anyone else's votes.
That's right.
I can go collaborate with, board members if I need to, but like with the principals and the counseling services and the superintendent, like, hey, we got to address this.
Right.
This is an issue for our students.
Absolutely.
Because we have 300 students applying to UT every year. 100 get in. If we match Westlake, 200 students get in.
Yep.
So we're improving the outcome of this entire education for 100 seniors every year.
Absolutely.
If we address this.
Well, and I would say too, like I want all the options on the table. I want our kids, I want your kids to be prepared for everything. And then they get to choose the life that they want. They choose where they go to school. What I hate is if something we would do in education would prevent them from getting that choice. And so to your point, right, we want them to have those options. And if they choose to go to other places, that's great. But we want them to be as competitive as possible so that they can get in those spots and they're not excluded from them.
Right.
And finally, what Megan's not saying, which was her silver bullet, was that I was canvassing.
That's right.
Hard for Megan. I was door to door for Megan. And
wearing my t-shirts.
Yeah, I wore a t-shirt. I was sweating a lot, which was really great look for her. But unfortunately, I don't think I'll have any pull in your neighborhood. So I'm just doing it behind the scenes.
Well, I've told you got your people. Like, I need commitments. How many votes you deliver?
So if anybody is hearing me, I'm behind you.
Thank you.
But you haven't given me any of the official campaign swag or anything. So it's probably better for your brand that you don't. But it worked for Megan.
I would say my mom graduated from Highland Park High School. So
did mine.
Oh, she did?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So she graduated from there. And so, when I told her that you were running for school board, she was very invested in having somebody who's as great as you.
Thank you.
On a board. She thought you would be excellent.
I appreciate that.
So, yeah.
Nice. Very nice. It's fun.
To learn more about John's candidacy for HPISD Board of Trustees and what he stands for, check out his website, alt4hpisd.com. And he's also on Instagram at alt4hpisd.
Okay, back on the playground. John, topics from the hat. We love this.
Love it.
Okay, Megan, topics from the hat. We're going to go a little quicker. Pull one.
Okay. Bring or buy lunch?
What did you do? Did you bring or buy lunch when you were growing up?
I think I ended up buying more, but I think it was because I was unorganized with my time. But those pizza pockets back in the day were pretty good. Yeah,
I was a big Tuesday pizza guy. Yeah. Got extra lunch money on pizza day for two. Were you a bringer buy? I don't remember.
I was buying in elementary, and then junior in high school, I was bringing, and I was making it myself.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to make myself lunch eventually when it was out there. Just since we're on the topic, like, what are we on a national level? School food, is that a thing that comes up all the time?
It's a big piece because it costs a lot of money for districts to do that. It's definitely expensive. It doesn't necessarily cover itself, so it ends up being a line item in your operating budget.
Why shouldn't that be the healthiest meal in America?
You won't find an argument for me. I absolutely think it should. Something we've talked about before.
Do y'all have prices listed in your cafeterias in RISD?
Yes, I believe we do.
No prices listed where we are.
Vending? Do you still vending machines there?
I think I would misspeak. I don't know. I think we do though.
Don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know. I've been out. We've been out a few years, so I don't know what's changed post COVID and all that thing.
Yeah.
But there's healthier vending machines. Okay. A second topic, John.
Best gym.
Best gym. Best gym you visited. You visited a lot of gyms you mentioned.
Let's see. I would say there's the best venue was on the USS Lincoln when Drew played on that outdoor carrier. That was cool. But so it was like a makeshift gym, but like the best gym for environment, honestly, outside of Gonzaga's was Brigham Young University. That environment was insane. They would be so sweet. They're like, "Oh, we're so glad you're here. Welcome. Like, we're so happy you're here." You get in there, they turn off the lights. It's like a possession. They turn completely different. And on the way out, they're like, "Safe travels. It was great seeing you." And I'm like, "We are not friends. Like, we're not."
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? Why are you so nice?
What about you? Best gym you visited?
Cameron Indoor.
Yeah.
It was High Church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this. For me, I think the best gym I've ever been at, certainly not at UT, my time, I would say, I think my Moody back in the day, just because I was so little, it seemed so big.
Yeah.
It still holds, like the first time I visited there.
Moody and Cameron had the same architect.
Yeah.
Same building.
The old Moody, right? It was just, I don't know. It wasn't real dark and stuff, but because I was little, I remember going there. I was so excited. The Mavericks were that was all that time. Okay. Last one. I'm going to pull it out. Grand Junction Pizza. Do you remember Grand Junction
Hold on.
Pizza?
I kind of do, but I'm not placing it.
Next to Henry's or down by Henry's?
Yeah, on over. So in our neighborhood, it's come up a couple times, and I thought for sure maybe we could skip it, but I thought for sure it was the pizza place. They used to play like old Three Stooges.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can remind you. So you haven't thought of it.
Yes.
So now the Walmart is there.
Yes.
But it was a pretty big deal.
It was.
But obviously didn't leave as much of an impression on you.
Well, I remember it, but I remember next door. Like, like where you had the phones where you had to pick up an order.
Yeah. Was it next door?
Of course.
My girls love, we talk about next door.
Such a cool place.
Yeah.
Where was next door?
Next door was over where past
Beltline
Promenade. It was at Beltline. Yeah.
It's
Like,
like
which
on
corner?
Coit.
Well, it was built in. Now there's a Kroger in that.
Yeah.
Okay,
They had a movie theater there.
Promenade was there. That's where I saw the Champ there at that movie theater.
Mr. Gaddy's.
Yeah.
It was over in that area.
I think next door would do good if we because
that place, the Grand Junction Pizza, is what would kill it.
Yeah.
Remember,
That is
it was
good. That was good.
tinfoil wrapped pizza,
Yeah.
crusty crust.
Well, previous guest Chris Preby told us, right, that his family, and I did not know this of being friends with him, that they would make the pizza boxes for them like as a side hustle because they needed money, and so that they took that on as an odd job. But it was a staple. They had to buy one, get one free. I was clearly this episode and all the questions have to do with me and pizza. That's what I'm thinking about today. But a lot of pizzas in my time. Megan, it's been awesome for you to join us and fun to be able to see you. But I have a question for you and just want to know, what was it like being the daughter of a high school principal?
I mean, probably harder on him than it was on me. But just a different awareness of how you move. You have to be a little bit more intentional. And then you kind of learn some hard lessons that if I do anything, it reflects on the family, right? And I think that happens for everybody, but it's just a little bit different because it was my dad's staff, and that's a different dynamic than just your teacher. So, but it was fun. I mean, I got access to lunch money pretty quickly. If I forgot a note, pretty easy to sign. And, my dad's a pretty fun guy. So, I can't complain too much. It was pretty great.
How long was your dad's career?
41 years, I believe.
Yeah.
In education. Started as the football coach at Pierce High School, actually.
Wow. Yeah, he was kind of a legend.
He was.
Yeah, he was a legend. We got to give a shout out to him because he was. Weren't the Millers? That's what.
Mr. Miller, Jerry Miller was
Jerry
in school.
Miller. Yeah.
Lake Highlands High School.
Yeah, we had a lot of kids of people. People really took to the district at that time. I think because it was such a new part of the world. Well, Megan, I know John is really appreciative. I'm sure he's going to tap into you the next few weeks.
Anytime.
Since you've offered. And I know for me, being your friend all these years later, watching what you've done, not for our kids, for our neighborhood, that I feel so strongly about still. It's been awesome to have you on the playground, and excited. And just thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been great. Always good to catch up, and so glad to see you guys are doing things that are still impactful.
Thank you.
It's great.
Thank you.